Don't be surprised if you get this close to it and then something happens to where you can't get it, because God says, I'm in charge of your destiny and I see what you don't see. You've got to also understand that the enemy is the author of confusion. And what the devil will do is that as you are seeking God for revelation, the devil will take what you're seeking and interpret it and misinterpret it into confusion. So you will feel confusion when you are really seeking. And while you are waiting on God and seeking the will of God, the enemy will snatch that seeking and transfer confusion into your thinking. And you'll begin to say, I don't know what God is saying. I don't know where I'm going. Anybody ever felt like that? Don't know what he's saying. Don't know where he's going. I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, because the enemy is trying to pollute your destiny with your marred history and trying to tell you that you're not hearing from God. But all you've got to say is what I want to leave you with tonight is, I'm in his hand. You ought to just look at somebody and say, I'm in his hand. But Pastor, I've got a lot of responsibility. You don't know my circumstance. I'm trying to make sure everything is in place. I'm trying to make sure things are in line. Everything is straight. It looks like more doors are slammed in my face than those that are opening. I'm being pulled in 20 different directions, trying to make an impact on my children. The risks are high. The critics are many. The friends are few. The haters are hating, and there are many who want to see me fall and not make it. Then I'm trying to be a decent husband, a decent father, a decent wife, a decent mother. Preacher, there were some weeks that I didn't even know how I was going to make it. There were times when I thought nobody understood the spiritual fight that I was in. Preacher, you don't know my situation. I came by here, Deliverance, to tell you that I may not know your situation, but I do know your God. I may not know what you're going through, but I know the one that can bring you through. God had to show me, Bishop Glenn, when I would complain about everything I was going through as a pastor, that most times it just ain't going to be perfect. And he said to me, Talbert, you can fuss, you can train people, you can cry, you can be on the edge of giving up, but son, what you got to understand is my church. I'm the potter. Those leaders you're training, they're my disciples. Those are my preachers. That's my praise team. Those are my praise dancers. Those are my musicians. The land I showed you, that's my land. The people that walked away, they're my people. And guess what he told me? He said, boy, you're in my hand. I'm trying to help somebody tonight just to know that you're in God's hand. Story is told about a man, a wise old man, who the neighborhood children would ask him questions, and he knew everything. And there was this smart young boy. And the boy said, I'm going to trick the old man. He caught him a bird and said, I'm going to go to the old man and I'm going to ask the old man, is the bird dead or is the bird alive? And put it behind my back and ask him, is the bird dead or is it alive? And if he says that the bird is dead, I'm going to let it go and let it fly away. And if he says that the bird is alive, I'm going to crush the bird and show him the dead bird. And he went to the old man and he said, old man, what do I have in my hand? The old man said, you got a bird in your hand, son. You got a bird. He said, old man, is the bird dead or is the bird alive? And he looked there with a smile on his face, thinking that he had the old man trapped. And the old man just looked at the boy and said, son, it's in your hands. It's in your. I just came by to Deliverance tonight to tell somebody today that is in your hand. Lord, help me preach in here tonight. As some of you can't have sleep at night. You're back in the medicine cabinet, taking the medicine that you didn't want to take. You're contemplating using a substance, and you think that it's all over. But I just came to tell somebody tonight that everything that you're going through tonight, you are in God's hand. Oh, and when you're in God's hand, here's what you ought to tell God. Lord, this is not my problem. It's your problem. You said you were going to take care of me. And I'm not going to drive myself crazy. I'm going to rest on the sovereignty of God. Somebody ought to tell him tonight, God, these are your bills. These are your kids. This is your car note. I'm yours, Lord. I belong to you. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. I'm not going to stress over your bills. I refuse to go crazy. I refuse to lose my mind. I refuse to have a nervous breakdown. I refuse to let the people who walk away and ain't even concerned about the things of God tell me what God can or cannot do. I refuse to quit. I refuse to go back to the club. I refuse to go back to the whorehouse. I refuse to go back to Chippendales. I'm more than this. I'm more than that. I'm a child of the King. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm in his. Lord, I wish I could preach it like I feel it. I'm in his hands. I'm going to keep my mind. You can lose yours if you want to. But as for me, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. I will put my trust in the Lord. You ought to go home and tell everybody this week, pray for me. I'm a work in progress. I still worry a little too much. I get a little mad sometimes. But the good news is I'm in his hands. Ephesians 2:10 says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works that God prepared beforehand. We are his workmanship. We are not our own, but we've been bought with a price, and that reveals to me that I'm not in it by myself. He said, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, I am the vine, ye are the branches. I want to tell somebody tonight that God can do exceedingly and abundantly above all I can ask, think, or imagine, according to the power that lives where? In me. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, the potter has put something down on the inside of you. Yeah, somebody said there's something on the inside working on the outside. Brought about a change in my life. I'm so glad I'm not in your hands. If I was in man's hands, I'd have been dead a long time ago. But I'm glad I wish I could holler. I'm so glad that when man